This is our secret weapon of getting extra space in the van.
Our names are Mike and Heather. We're traveling the US in our van Appa on a mission to visit all 50 states. Subscribe and join us as we try to figure out this whole van life thing. Thanks for watching. So we recently bought a Ford Transit Connect this past summer and converted it into a camper van.
One of the questions that we always get is this van actually big enough to live out of as a camper van? And more importantly than that, how are you going to fit to sleep in there? I don't know if it really shows up very well on camera, but I'm about 6'5".
Taller than the van.
Yeah, there's not always the perception that there's enough room to sleep in here. We're here today to show you how we found a solution for a bed in there and how we actually can be and fit in here even though it is a smaller van.
Yeah, and kind of the nitty-gritties of our bed build itself. We're excited to show you what it looks like now.
As you can see, we've completely converted the cargo space of the van into a living area. When we were researching exactly what we wanted to do, we saw a lot of different designs. There were a couple that had just made one big bed in the cargo area. There was a few that had two different benches and a table that would set in the middle. But we really liked the idea of having an L-shaped bed with a bench that pulls out to make the max space for the bed while also being a bench. We didn't want just a bed back here. We wanted to be able to come back here and have a living area where we could eat and work and just be able to enjoy ourselves during the day, but not lose the ability to have a full-size bed.
When we designed the van, we actually wanted a way to be able to make it go into bed mode while we were in the van. So that way when we did want to be a little bit more stealthy, we didn't want to have to go outside of the van, open up all the doors, let everybody know that there was a camper in here. Although I think the solar panels are now a dead giveaway. But we did design the bed to be able to open and close while we're in the van. So what will happen when it's time to go into bed mode, Mike will go up front here and I'll stand kind of in this little corner as best as I can and pull out the bed like so. Grab this cushion and flop it over and then shove it in here. We did design it to be a little bit kind of tight to be able to put the cushion in because what we've learned the first trip that we went on is that these will kind of separate when you're sleeping on them. So in order to eliminate the gap, we made it a little bit tighter of a fit for the two cushions to go into, which we'll go into in a second and how we actually did that. But you can see nice flat ground. And then this is our secret weapon of getting extra space in the van. So if you pop around this side, we'll be able to show you a little bit more in detail on that.
One of the things that is kind of an inescapable fact with this van is you are limited in space. So from the back of the cargo area to the front is 6 feet. At 6'5", that does pose a little bit of a problem, but one of our recent additions is kind of a solve for that. So if you come to the front, scoot this seat all the way forward, we added in a couple of posts and flip up brackets and made a foam board that gives us that extra little space that we needed in order for me to fit more comfortably on the bed. Once this is in, this seat can kind of lock it in place here, and then we make sure to push the driver's seat all the way back in order to have access to the front of the car. Just as a safety thing, you always kind of want to be able to get to the driver's seat in the event of an emergency. We made sure to cut everything so that we could still get to the front if we needed to, but it adds the perfect amount of space for us and it really wasn't that difficult of a fix, so we're really happy with it.
And now the test, gotta lay down on it.
Again, I'm 6'5". From the back of the cargo area up to about here is 6 feet, and this is me comfortably, fully extended in our bed.
So I'm assuming your next question would be, well, how do I also fit in there? I guess we'll demonstrate a two-person lay down on this bed for science.
We're not gonna pretend that you're going to have a queen size or a king size bed back here. That's just not gonna happen if you have a van this size. But what you can have is something that is right around a twin size bed. You can definitely fit two people in here.
It's definitely cozy and you have to like each other, but it works.
I feel like we're sleeping like vampires right now.
It definitely is doable. And I think with the extension, if you're a taller person, you can kind of stretch out. You don't have to be curled up in the fetal position in order to not touch the end with your toes. So that's been a really nice addition. We have a 6-inch foam memory mattress pad, and that's worked really well. I think the bed is very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we get good night's sleep every night we're in here.
We actually got this at Target. It was just a plain memory foam twin, I think it was a twin extra long mattress that we just cut and kind of made into the shapes that we needed to. So we got like the bench here, and then this was obviously the headrest, and then the L part of the bench there, and then with a little bit of extra craft foam, we made the board there. So that's just a plain board left over from our many construction fails for building it. So we had some extra boards lying around that we put the craft foam on top of and stapled the fabric that we used on the cushions around it. So that was actually a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be, but that's explaining the cushions. So we figured before we actually remove the cushions from the van, we should show you how it kind of goes all together again. So this pad actually fits perfectly in this little section over here. So if you can see that there's just a little bit of a gap because the van isn't a perfectly straight wall, it kind of curves. So in that gap, we just stuff this in. There's really no wrong way to do it, just kind of fits there. And then this cushion pops back on over to here. And then Mike, if you'll slide that in.
You can actually just about get it one-handed without too much difficulty. And then there you have it, you're back in bench mode.
Yeah, so then we just plop these back down and push the seat back. And now it's like it never happened. So now we're gonna remove the cushions and show you the actual construction. I won't throw this one because it's got a board underneath and might knock you out. One last comment on the cushions before I promise we move on to the construction is those were originally held on the fabric by safety pins, but we actually hand sewed all of that painstakingly, but now they're good, and now the safety pins won't come off while we're moving it.
We decided that a slat design that pulls out, being able to have both a bench and a bed, made the most sense for us in terms of maximizing the space. We built a frame, and then basically we have these 1x3s set up along the top of it, with half of them mounted off of the back rail and half of them on the front, and then we attached a support rail underneath the sliding ones to support them there too. When it pulls out, you can see how some of them are only on the frame and the other ones are on that front sliding rail and the support rail. One of the important things that we learned as we were building is you can see along the frame rail, half of them are attached there, the other half don't go. And on the front with the sliding rail, you'll notice that there's some attached and other ones that don't connect. The problem with that was when they actually went over on either side, they caught and wouldn't allow the bed to slide out, and we absolutely could not get the bed to slide back in. We had them offset, and that really was what the difference maker was in terms of having a smooth sliding bed. Additionally, you have the support rail if you look underneath, but we added in stoppers to help get that distance correct.
That allowed this part of the bed not to keep sliding out and allowing the cushions to separate. So this keeps it exactly where it needs to be so the cushions don't separate while you're sleeping at night.
Up here is a little bit different. We knew that we wanted a bench to go across, but we also wanted the fridge included in here. We did something a little bit different. This is actually separate from the bed and is a little bit shorter than the widest distance that this extends to, but we included this because we wanted to be able to have access to our power. Having this be able to flip up was big. We attached these front rails to the beds, and that helps keep the cushions in place so they don't move when you're trying to sleep. Otherwise, they'll separate and you'll have a crack that you kind of fall into.
Yeah, so it's just another measure to make sure that the cushions are pushed in the correct order, because this basically acts like a lip so that the cushions can't slide off of the bench and fall.
And then the last things that we added were these rails and flip up supports to the front of this bench part. These also serve as a stopper for the cushions from moving and then give us a good setup for the little extension. It kind of was a lot of trial and error. We've actually tinkered a lot with this since we first built it, and I think it's in a place where we're really happy.
And to give more specifics, got a tape measure out.
For the dimensions of what we were actually able to fit in here, we have a cushion that goes about 23 inches, so from this front rail to the back. And then the bed part of this, all the way to the end, if I can catch that, is about 56.5. That is its own separate piece. And then when this is extended out with the dimensions that we have, at the widest point, we are at just about 3 feet, 36 inches. So really not too bad in terms of sleeping space to have about 3 feet of space back here. The entire width of the cargo area is 4 feet. So we really are trying to maximize the space that we have here. When you add in the bench up here, the bench itself is actually 14 by about 32, so a little bit shorter than the bed when it's fully extended, but we haven't found that to be really too much of an issue. We haven't noticed that being a problem in terms of being comfortable when we sleep.
Yeah, you can also sleep down at this end where you get more headroom, but honestly that's not bad because we use that kind of as our place where we put our phones at the night and miscellaneous stuff that we want, so that's kind of like our night dresser area. But with a pillow you can kind of even go off a little bit onto it, but honestly we fit perfectly fine just how the bed is.
So with the extra extension pieces, if we go from the back of the van up to here, we're looking at closest to 7 feet, about 82.5, 83 inches once you have in that addition. Not bad. I mean, definitely more than enough space for us to sleep comfortably, and not that difficult to add on if you already have a frame in place. The height of the bed with the slats on is about 12.25 inches.
Plus 6 inches when the mattress is on top.
And with this, we actually have this a little bit taller in order to fit all the electrical equipment in there. You don't notice it when you're sleeping on the foam mattress pad.
We actually cut down the foam that was on that one so that way the bed is all the same height. So if this is 6 inches tall foam, that's 5 inches tall foam. So we just sliced off a portion of the mattress to make sure that it was all level once it's in bed mode.
Yes, and so this is actually 13.5 inches to the top of the slats here. We wanted to make sure that, again, me being a bit taller, we would still have space to sit straight up and down in here and be comfortable, but not have this sit so low to the ground. That's why we went with this year model in particular. So from 2010 to 2013, the Ford Transit Connects had a taller cargo area. If you look at some of the newer models from 2014 up to now, you'll notice that they're shorter. So that was one of the big reasons to go with this one.
Honestly, we kind of just made it up as we went, which is why we wanted to kind of show it off to show that there really isn't any right answer to building these. You kind of just have to build it in your space and see what works and what doesn't work to make sure that it fits your needs and your quirky little space of whatever type of van that you're building this in. We put the cushions back in the van and we're sitting in it now just to kind of demonstrate how much headroom that we actually have. So I'm about 5'6" and I'm sitting up completely straight and still not touching it. I have to like go that high, but I got about probably like an inch, maybe an inch and a half between my head and the ceiling, so I can sit up perfectly straight in here without a problem.
I'm not going to say I have tons of headroom to be doing a ton of stuff, but it's comfortable. I don't feel like I'm cramped in here. I probably usually sit a little bit slouched anyway. It's definitely got the space that we need, and if you look, our legs are actually in a nice position. This is comfortable to sit. You have space on the front. So I think it works really well. Again, I couldn't imagine a different setup for what we want.
Oftentimes we'll just be lounging in here. So I might come over and sit on this side of the bench, put my feet up on the refrigerator, or honestly, sometimes I even sit on the refrigerator, but definitely enough space to just kind of sit and lounge and stretch out. Again, I can sit down here. There's definitely enough space in here.
And one of the other things, we ended up going with a cabinet and countertop approach for storage in here. What we ended up doing was, in order to have a workspace that actually works with our bed, this also comes out. So now we have a place that we can eat. We have a place that we can work and put our computers and things like that. So even with the height of this, we kind of tried to match it to what we were working with here, making sure all of the different heights kind of line up in a way that works.
We'll get into more of that on our actual van tour, which is going to be our next video. So if you liked this one, please like and subscribe, and even go back and watch some of our old ones where we get into like the van build itself. Well, if you want to feel better about yourself in the build process, I would definitely go back and watch that struggle. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. See you next time.